A few days ago now, Wizards of the Coast put out a blog post talking about the updates of the bracket system and had a few discussions on hybrid mana colors and also a few cards that are potentially going onto the ban list. And I'm glad I waited a few days to cover this because things unfolded in a pretty interesting way where the community response is definitely split. I wanted to cover the community responses that at least I came across. Also share my own opinion on the matter. So let's jump right into it. Before we jump into this, looking at the responses, we need a little bit of context first. On October 21st, 2025, WoTC put out an article going over the bracket system and the game changers, talking about how they're taking deflecting sweat off, which I think is also really healthy for the format. The main part of the discussion that a lot of people are talking about is the Commander Summit discussion topics part of the article, which I will actually leave down in the description if you guys want to go read all of it. It's all right there, and it's actually a very good read. I think WoTC is actually sort of paying attention to the Commander community and what they want. I think it's well written, but the first thing the Commander Summit discussion talks about, the CSM or CSD if you want to kind of shorten it, which I think I do. It goes over what could be potential bans later on for Commander. And the first one that they talk about is Rhystic Study. And that sparked major discussion, especially along the lines of the cEDH base of the community. My thoughts personally are that Rhystic Study is very healthy for the format, especially for cEDH. I think Rhystic Study can help stop early wins. Mystic Remora is in the same boat, and I think Rhystic Study can also help advantage your board state and advance your game plan, which is what cEDH is all about. It is all about having more resources than others, having more cards than others, winning as fast as possible. WoTC even talks about that in their breakdown of the bracket system. You can win on any turn, and you can basically have as many resources or card draw over your opponents, as long as they're not banning Commander. And that is where the issues arise in this topic. So starting off here a little bit, we have a post by Playing with Power MTG. I used to watch their videos a lot actually, but ever since this take, and even a little before that, I've actually kind of dwindled on watching their content. It's not that their content is bad, I just don't prefer their content anymore, and this post just makes it a little more sure for myself that I'm no longer going to be watching their content. Before I say anything further, no, let's just watch the video.
Since you have a way to draw your deck with Thrasios, you should put Thassa's Oracle in here. It's unwise not to put Thassa's Oracle in here. There is no deck out there that is in at least Amir colors that does not have this combo. Thassa's Oracle is anticlimactic. It is repetitive. They drew their deck with Thrasios. Here comes the Thassa's Oracle. It's Thassa's Oracle. Win the game with 10 pieces of counter magic for backup. It's a very anticlimactic way to win. Thassa's Oracle is unhealthy for this format. I don't think it should be here anymore.
Yes, the ye old question of if I win cards should be banned in Commander, and more specifically cEDH, because this is a cEDH focused channel, and I just find it really ironic that this dude's specific hatred for blue cards is really ironic, because in cEDH, there are people like this who look around the table most of the time for interaction when someone else is putting a win on the stack and is just like, oh, why is no one putting wins on the, or why is no one stopping this win that's on the stack? And it's either like, hey, you didn't feed my Rhystic, so I can't play interaction if I don't draw interaction, or they'll be having a stacks piece where you can't play free counter spells and they tapped out, so Vexane Bauble or Lavinia. Having that weird hatred, and I don't want to call it hatred because I'm not on their Patreon, which they promote after this video. So I can't actually say if this guy hates Thoracle or not, but it's a weird way of how he's describing a Thrasios deck, specifically winning with Thoracle. And I'm over here thinking, like, if you're talking about Rog Thras, like, that is not it, dude. Like, most Rog Thrases don't play Thassa's Oracle. TNT does, but that's because they have access to black. Again, the irony of the instant win card in a format that is supposed to be fast and competitive is unhealthy when it's not. I think takes like this are very selfish, especially in a faster format. You need those I win cards, so it is the faster, more competitive format. But honestly, you might be getting your wish because of the next tweet we're gonna look at. So next up, we're gonna be looking at a tweet from Zrob. This is someone who is affiliated or part of Top Deck, and essentially their tweet comes down to, hey, I believe Rhystic is going to be, fucking learn to speak, dude.
Marker.
The next tweet we're going to be looking at is by Zrob. They are a person that is either affiliated or a part of topdeck.gg. The summary of their tweet basically comes down to they believe that Rhystic Study and Thoracle are going to be banned come January or February of next year. They believe it with confidence because they have been in communication with committee members who told Zrob back in April or May that the bans will essentially still happen anyway, and that this entire thing with the posts and all that stuff is basically just a setup to be like, oh, you guys told us you wanted these cards banned, even though like half of the people don't want to ban, and they're just gonna ban it anyway. They also go on to say that if they're actually trying to represent cEDH, they would at least reach out to Top Deck, to EDH Top 16, and so on and so forth, get more concrete data and thoughts on the format, but they're not doing that. And essentially they end their tweet with saying, I'm willing to help out, I'll speak to Gavin, like I'll reach out to Wizards and Gavin with everyone's thoughts and opinions. This is where Playing with Powers video kind of comes into, ironically, play here, where them stating that they want a card like Thassa's Gone strictly off of the opinion that they think it should be gone can contribute to the conversation here and how it can harmfully affect the community and how we play cEDH. And that's essentially it for this tweet. Thanks Zrob for being, you know, our kind of inside look into this. I hope what you're saying isn't true and that they're just gonna ban it anyway, because there was actually no conversation when JLo and Mana Crypt were banned, and a lot of people are asking for that stuff back. So hopefully Wizards is starting to listen to the community a lot more. So thanks for being a real one and sharing insider info. Oh, and link for this tweet will be in the description below. I know I already covered basically all of what was said in the tweet, but if you want to read it for yourself, it's there. This guy, Dan, posted that 95% of the takes I see about Rhystic Study are so simple-minded and surface level. Anyone saying just pay the one or run more enchantment removal clearly hasn't put a sufficient amount of thought into the actual play patterns that emerge from this card in a multiplayer setting.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And so my boy, River, says again, Rhystic Study scales with how bad your opponents are. Not even trolling, but that's a longer discussion a lot of players who think they're good don't want to have. Not saying Dan is bad. I'm gonna say it. Dan is bad, dude. At the end of the day, with all jokes aside, River is right here. This card definitely stacks off your opponents on how much they feed you. If there's a Bowmasters, like there's so many different things that can pertain to Rhystic Study. There are cards that also scale off of Rhystic Study, such as Bowmasters, a Smothering Tithe to Taru. If a player casts 2 or more spells, like Lotho, the new Cabbage Merchant that's coming out, Monologue Tax. There's just so much that can bounce off of each other. And then there's also copy effects like Mirror Maid and copy enchantment. There's steal effects like steal enchantment. There's bounce effects like Into the Floodmaw. The list goes on. Like in my Najeela deck, I tend to run Mirror Maid specifically for 2 reasons, or 3 reasons if you take its other effect as well. I run Rhystic Study to, yes, copy Mystic and Rhystic. I can also copy things like the One Ring, but I do not run Necro or Ad Naz in my Najeela deck because I tend to run Shocklands over the duels. Not only is it for aesthetic reasons, but it's also to keep people off my life total during a game. So if I need a Necro, I can have one for 1 and 2 blue. Like, there is so much versatility in Commander, it's not even funny. And again, Mirror Maid is like a $6 card, I think. I'll put the price up actually on the screen here. And copy enchantment's also like under $10. There's just so many ways to play Rhystic Study and play around Rhystic Study. You know, if you're in red, you can run Red Elemental Blast, you can run Pyroblast. If you're in white, you can run Disenchant, you can run Get Lost, green runs Boseiju. You know, there's just so many things. Into the Floodmaw, Chain of Vapor. There's just so much, and at that point it's up to you to upkeep that instead of the person who has the Rhystic Study in their deck. Anyway, I want to know what you guys think, so make sure to comment down below your opinions on this. If you liked the video, make sure to, you know, like and subscribe. You know, let me also know down in the comment section what other kind of videos you guys would like me seeing. This video did take a couple days to work on, so I'm probably gonna hibernate for maybe 1 to 2 days. If you also want to follow me on other socials, I'll have my Cardo in the link in the description, and see y'all later.